Hi, I'm Jimmy Saldo. Welcome to Jersey Shore Guitar Garage. Today, we're taking the Jimmy Page wiring harness out for a test drive. There's a lot of buzz, and there's a lot of misinformation online about this particular circuit. It's a fully featured 21-tone circuit that fits any Les Paul, SG, or ES type of guitar with 4 controls, 2 volume knobs, and 2 tones. It adds a push-pull or a push-push to each one of those circuits, giving us a lot of control over the different tones that we have. Now, one of the main facts remains that there are a lot of different ways to build even the Jimmy Page type circuit, being that it consists of 2 coil taps, a phase inverter, and a serial mode. There's a lot of different configurations you can put that together in. It's not a matter of which one is better, it's a matter of which one suits your needs better. Typically, we at Jersey Shore Guitar Garage only build one type of Jimmy Page circuit. The reason we build it the way we do is we shut off just the south coils when we shut off the coil taps. And that helps to make more noise canceling positions on the guitar. Now, to have a Jimmy Page circuit in your guitar, you need a dual humbucker guitar. Each one of those humbuckers should be a 5-wire pickup, so we have access to the series link coil that's on the inside of the pickup. And we have to have those 4 controls, 2 volume, 2 tone, and we add a push-pull to each one. Now, let's take a listen with the guitar. In an interview, Jimmy Page was quoted as saying that the phase inverter was the most important mod that he had to have on any working guitar. Phase inverter flips the positive and negative of one pickup over. Now, what does that do? Jimmy Page, along with a lot of other guitarists at the time, Carlos Santana and the like, were all trying to emulate Peter Green. Peter Green had a very unique sounding Les Paul because one of his pickups was magnetically out of phase. This made a very unique sound when both pickups were on at the same time. Because of phase cancellation, most of the upper harmonics are what you hear, and the fundamental note is what got canceled out. We can kind of emulate that sound by flipping the positive and negative of one pickup over, creating an electrical phase cancellation. Let's take a quick look at how that sounds. Now, it's important to note that a phase cancellation sound is only going to have effect on the guitar when both pickups are on at the same time. You can't have a pickup out of phase with something that's not there. So both pickups have to be active in order for them to be considered out of phase. First, I'll play the guitar 2 humbuckers in phase like what would be normal. Then I'll switch to phase inverter and you'll hear the difference. So you see, that's a dramatic difference. Now, what that allowed you to do was cut through the mix with a different tone, different than the hundreds of other guitar players that were trying to make their name at the time. While there weren't a lot of stomp boxes and effects at the time, this was a good way that you can stand out. Now, that out-of-phase sound really reacts once you start putting a lot of power to it. One of the other cool features of the Jimmy Page circuit is the serial mode. Now, when you put your guitar in serial mode, it turns on both of these humbucker positions in series with one another, and they're on all the time. So that means when you're in serial mode, the 3-way switch won't do anything anymore because both pickups are on all the time. And it effectively doubles the power of these 2 pickups. Instead of their positive leads being hooked together in the circuit, they're wired in series like this, positive to negative to positive to negative. Just like when you put your batteries inside your flashlight. Each battery is worth 1.5 volts. One goes in, positive touches negative, and your flashlight runs off of either end. Your flashlight runs off of 3 volts. So effectively, we're doubling the power of our guitar. There's also some give and take. There's a lot of treble cut and there's a lot of compression, so it makes a different sound. Essentially, our humbucker itself is two single coils wired in series with one another. That's why a humbucker is more powerful and has more compression and treble cut. So let's listen. First, I'll play both pickups on in parallel, like normal, and then I'll play both pickups in series with one another. You'll hear the power boost, and you'll hear the treble cut and compression. Alright, you can hear it's a little darker, we have a little less treble, and it's driving that amp a lot harder. I didn't step on any pedals. That's all done right here in the guitar. By adding or taking away power, or adding or taking away coils, is how we manipulate the sound with the Jimmy Page harness. Now, I'm not going to get into the coil taps. We should all know by now what coil taps do. But by coloring in these coil taps to our out-of-phase sound and to our serial sound, you have all of these different tones that you can paint with. And there's a lot more that you can get at inside your guitar than how it comes stock. By hooking these controls to it, we're just allowing ourselves access to all four of the coils. Now, for those of you that are quick, you're adding up along with me and you've only got 20 different positions. And I said earlier that this is a 21 tone harness. So let's talk about how that works. When we're in the bridge position and we have selected our coil tap, which essentially shuts off half of this pickup, we have the south coil in our circuit and the way we've wired it. The south coil is the one that remains on. That coil is a little further towards the end of the inside of the guitar. When I push the phase inverter and I flip the positive and negative of the bridge over, the other coil will turn on. This is the 21st tone of the Jimmy Page harness. And just by moving the coil, the active coil, from one spot to the other in the bridge position, it does make a rather dramatic difference in sound. Now, these are Gibson Classic 57 pickups, so each coil is wound exactly the same as one another. The only thing changing the sound here is by having one coil active and then the other. So let's listen to how that sounds. Again, a dramatic difference. And that only happened from moving coil position. There's nothing different about these two coils in this pickup. So, by painting with all of these different colors, you open up to the full palette of Jimmy Page. I'm going to leave you off with one of my favorite tones. It is the neck in single coil, the bridge in humbucker, with them in series and out of phase with another. This is a very vocal tone. It sounds kind of like a half-cracked wah. And it does react really well to distortion. So I'll do a little bit of clean channel and then a little bit of distortion on the way out. Thanks for hanging out.